In this presentation, I'll be addressing the potential problems of the current state's policy with homeschooling. Homeschooling is becoming prevalent in the U.S. According to the census data from the Census Bureau, the number of children who are homeschooled are increasing every year. Even though it is still a minority of children who are homeschooled, it does not mean that we can overlook this population. And why is it a complex problem? Because educational neglect of homeschooling is not only the problem to the homeschool individuals, but also to the society. Just like any student in public schools, without adequate education and mandated supervision of homeschool children's academic achievement, some of the homeschool students may potentially contribute to social problems when they grow up. Homeschool children who suffer from educational neglect may have difficulty in their future life, including enrolling in college, getting a stable job, and etc. How did the problem arise? The homeschooling raised a concern to me when I heard about the Turpin case in the beginning of the semester. On January 14, 2018, the Turpin couples were arrested on suspicion of child endangerment and torture. 13 of their children were homeschooled, along with being chained and maltreated. This striking and horrifying news brought my attention to homeschooling. In my opinion, homeschooling should not take the blame for what happened. However, it brought up some of the common concern about homeschooling, and in this case, concealment of maltreatment is one of the problems that come with homeschooling. According to the Coalition of Responsible Home Education, besides concealment, there are other potential problems with homeschooling. For example, when there's limited oversight of homeschooling, when there's no accountability to ensure that learning takes place in homeschooling settings, when the parental effort is limited, when education is devalued, and when homeschool children are treated as servants and expected to do childcare and house cleaning rather than completing homeschool lessons. All of the above are examples of educational neglect in homeschool settings. What do the current service and policy landscape look like? As mentioned above, one way of educational neglect in homeschool setting is when the parental effort is limited. There is numerous online homeschool programs that offer helps to parents and their children when the parents' academic knowledge is limited in some area. Most of the online academics are accredited and provide K-12 curriculum. However, the tuition fee for this online homeschool program can be very expensive, and not all the parents can afford that. My main concern is with the current policy regarding homeschooling. Different states have different policy to help prevent educational neglect in the homeschooling setting. For example, standardized testing, notification, parent education minimums, state-mandated subjects, and records. Different states have different formats of standardized testing. While public school students face routine assessment of their progress, homeschool students are mostly exempt from this requirement. In several states, homeschool students are never assessed. Only half of the states in the U.S. either require standardized testing or offer standardized testing as one of the options of academic assessment. Parents in 11 states do not need to file a notification of homeschooling with states or local education officials or have any contact with education officials whatsoever. In these states, there is little to nothing insurance that homeschool students receive an education. Also, 39 states have no parent minimum education requirements, meaning that parents can homeschool their children even if they never completed school themselves. Some states require parents to be competent or capable, but don't define what this means. When it comes to state-mandated subjects, while most states have subject requirements and/or require hours of instruction, some have neither. Moreover, most states have no record-keeping requirements, meaning that nothing is ensuring that academic records are either created or maintained. Most states have some combination of notification, parent qualification, day of instruction, subject, bookkeeping, and assessment requirements. A few states have all six of these requirements, and some have none of them. As a result of the current lack of homeschooling oversight in most states, homeschool children's education rests entirely in the hands of their parents. Therefore, to ensure homeschool children can achieve academic success, more requirements need to be met in all of the states. The Turban case not only brought my attention to educational neglect in the homeschooling settings, but also raised concern about social development among homeschool children. Because there's a lack of social interaction in homeschooling setting, there's a need to take a look at the service and policy that address the social development of homeschool children. One way to look at service and policy available for social interaction is through looking at the state's laws concerning the participation of homeschool children in public school activity. And different states have the different policy regarding the eligibility. For example, in Michigan Department of Education states that to participate in extracurricular activity at the public school, the student should be enrolled part-time in the public school. However, the eligibility rules of the Michigan High School Athletic Association requires a student to be on the school record for at least 66% of full credit load potential for a full-time student to play sport for a member school. Some states, for instance, California prohibits homeschool children from playing on public school teams. Most of the states have rules for eligibility, which means homeschool students are allowed to participate in public school activity under some circumstances. It is striking to notice that some states do not even allow homeschool students to participate. So what kind of changes do we need to better address the problem? For homeschool children to acquire the adequate education and avoid educational neglect, all states should implement combination policies of notification, parent qualification, days of instruction, subject, bookkeeping, and assessment requirements. For them to have a better social development and have more social interaction, all states should have the more lenient policy regarding homeschool students' participation in public school athletic activity. Last but not least, to prevent child abuse and maltreatment in homeschooling settings, periodic investigation or home visit from child care program or other state department should be mandatory. Thank you for watching.